So what's the best way to start a class as a new teacher? Whether you're a completely fresh teacher and you're going into your first teaching job, or if you're an experienced teacher just going into a new class. So this is what I would do and suggest when I'm taking over new classes, and if I was to suggest anything for a new teacher going into their first teaching job, this is what I would suggest for them to do in their first lesson. So the first thing is to find out if your school has a procedure on the way you are meant to begin lessons. In my school, we ask the students to stand up. We will say good morning or good afternoon, and the students respond, good morning, good afternoon, teacher. Obviously, we don't say both of those. We just say whichever it is, if it's the morning or if it's the afternoon. We just say one. Very simple. It probably doesn't even need to be on the lesson plan because it takes 10 seconds to do. So then what's the next thing I do? What's, I guess, the first thing I'll be writing on my lesson plan for what it is I do in class, for this particular lesson anyway, and it's time to introduce yourself. It's time to tell them your name. Now, I've decided that what I do when I tell the students my name is that I teach it to them through Hangman. So students are usually very familiar with Hangman, at least from grade 2 upwards anyway, because Hangman is a good activity to do in grade 1 to get students used to saying letters and spelling simple words like cat. So usually from grade 2 upwards, maybe not grade 1, but you can introduce the students to who you are with Hangman. So I usually first play Hangman with the word teacher, as it's a word they probably know, and then I play a second game of Hangman with my name, Adam. And then I put both of them together. It's like, I'm teacher Adam. And then I teach them how to say my name correctly, which Adam is a pretty easy name for students to pronounce. So it doesn't cause me that much trouble to teach them how to pronounce my name. We've played a game, and now it's time to introduce the classroom rules. And I would do this all the way up until basically grade 12. Grade 12 know how to play Hangman. They can still do this, and you can still introduce classroom rules to grade 12. So I introduce my classroom rules to the students, as this is a good way to let the students know your expectations of them straight from the very first lesson. Classroom management is always something that teachers struggle with all over the world, so it's very good to get a grip on it from lesson 1. So introduce the classroom rules after you've taught them your name. However, some teachers might want to swap the order in which they do this, and that is completely fine too. And now it's time for our first activity. So I've taught them my name, the classroom rules. Now we're actually getting into the part where we would be teaching normally. And how I would usually begin a class if I already know the students is I teach songs in my classroom. So I begin with a song again. Obviously now we're about 10 minutes into the lesson, but it's now time to start the class as we traditionally would. And for that, I have songs. When I'm teaching a new class, I teach the song Touch the Sky from the Pixar movie Brave. The song doesn't have so many lyrics, and the chorus is very easy for the students to learn. I always give the students a printout of the song on a piece of paper so that they have something to practice at home, and they can practice reading it in the classroom whilst we're going through the song. I think this is a very good song to begin with, as it's not overly complicated and it doesn't have too many verses, and there aren't that many big words in there for the students to learn. So that's how I would begin a class as a new teacher. But then you've got the rest of the lesson to fill. And what do you do then? So I feel you've got two options here. The option I take is I just start teaching the curriculum. Whatever it is we're meant to be teaching them, whatever the school has assigned for us to teach them, I start teaching them the new vocabulary for the first unit, I guess. And we sort of go on from there. So straight into the curriculum. Now, other teachers might want to do this as a further introduction. So you've taught them your name, and then maybe you want to teach them a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, your background, your age, and all of this stuff. And then you want the students to do the same thing. So you get the students to introduce themselves as well. And maybe you need to give them a little bit of time, maybe a worksheet, or they can write it down in their notebook. Just a few questions of, you're going to tell me your name, you're going to tell me where you're from, tell me your hometown, tell me how old you are, and like a favorite subject or something along this lines for the students to introduce yourselves with. But as neither of these is better than the other, it's just whichever way you would prefer to do your first class. Now, a lot of time, if you're a brand new teacher, you might find that you've done all of that super quickly, and there's still maybe 5 to 7 minutes left of your class, and you're not really too sure what to do at this point. So one quick way to kill as much time as you have left, even if it's up to 10 minutes, And this probably would only work for grades 3 and upwards, all the way up to grade 12, is to play Boggle at the end of the class, if you have time remaining that you didn't plan for. So having Boggle on hand is a great idea to end the class if you've got that spare time. Just put the Boggle up on the board and get the students to start making words with the letters that they can see, and you can just run this to the end of the class. It's like you've got 7 minutes. How many words can you make? Whoever gets the most words is the winner. And that's how I would run basically my entire class as a new teacher, and my advice for any new teacher entering their first job to do. But I would love to know the way how you guys start your new classes as a new teacher, and what advice you would give new teachers entering the teaching field for the first time. How would you recommend they start their classes? And I would love to read some of those in the comments below. If this video has brought you any sort of useful information, then I'm very happy that it has brought you some useful information, and please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. But that's all I have to say for today. So as we say in China, bye bye.